Alright guys, going to cover some of the Best of Asia tournament hosted by Back Magoon, so big thanks to him. We're here through to the semi-finals. Got a best of 5 here between loueMT, the Red Trunks on Mongols, up against Flash, who's on Chinese. So back to red versus blue in this coverage. And we've got game number 1 between our players. Flash taking advantage of the drop-off at any facility when you build it there. So you can go for this early village, and he's only just shy of the wood he needs to go for a gold vein here. We'll get the mining camp next to it at least. loueMT actually distance gathering, well not distance gathering, using his GER to gather a single split tree over there. And he's moving across onto his regular woodline, going for a pasture. So macro Mongols it seems. That GER right up next to the gold mine. So the only movable drop-off building in the game so far. The GER, unique to Mongols, whereas everyone else has got to put down, you know, a mill or a mining camp or a lumber camp. The map today is Altai, one that's was very popular when the game was first come out, obviously because there was less maps to go around really. Sort of one of the preferred choices if you weren't playing on dry Arabia. But nowadays we don't really see it a hell of a lot, so it's refreshing getting to see some action on it once again. It's actually the map where people would most likely actually use one of their scouts to bring the deer back home, and also the map that was basically the birthplace of the HRE's Burgrave Palace Rush, because of, you know, being able to get such an early hunt eco so safely. So it looks like loueMT, even though he's gone for this macro start with the pasture, is going to go with the barracks. While Flash already has a barracks of his own, we'll be starting spearman production. So loueMT going to start gold gathering now, but he is also able to start his spearman production, even spending the stone generated by his Ovu to get them out 2 at a time, basically for free, the second one, because obviously it's only costing stone that automatically generates from the Ovu. So they're actually going to be able to cut off the scout here. Perhaps not. So Flash in the meanwhile producing some spearmen of his own. Bearing in mind, Low could potentially, once he's got the sheep, once he's got enough sheep, and he's already got a pasture, he can actually start harassing with the Khan, getting a little bit of damage off. I don't know if there's really a huge amount of sheep around here for him to collect. Got to catch them all, eh? So it looks like Flash has already run his scout up this side. Both our players only going with the single scout as well, which seems to be pretty common these days. People were often going for 2 scout openings, regardless of matchup and map, for a long time. But it seems like, you know, skipping producing a scout, saving that bit of food, and on top of that, being able to produce an extra villager and a quarter instead of the scout, definitely seems to be the way to go. Flash actually both got the mining camp and has got a second official here. Probably going to empower the lumber camp. Well, loueMT getting a silver tree. So you can look at actually moving that well, what he can probably do at first is just trade directly to the trading post there, but then or even the one all the way over here, but it is a little bit less safe. He's going to have to run past through this path. That Flash can look at interrupting things, but he can also either put a market over here or just shift the silver tree back here, but realistically he probably wants to dump a lot of this stone into dual caravan production, and he can always just build a market here and move that over into the far corner. So Flash, probably being harassed a little bit there. loueMT's actually trailing by a villager for some reason. Don't believe he's actually lost anything. Just might have briefly had to cut Vil production in lieu of getting that silver tree slightly quicker. Or Flash able to take out one of his spears. Going for a much bigger number of early game spearmen here. He's going to get his Imperial Academy. It is going to empower the mill as well, which is going to be really good. China's probably the one civ you don't really want to be forcing everything back to the town centre, like all these deer, because it's going to actually cost you a bit of gold in the long run. So players both in feudal, and yeah, it looks like loueMT is just going to take this nice, safe, short caravan path over here. That's just a little bit of a safe wall there. Just trying to get a bit of damage. Considering the Khan will just regen health, you know, any little bit of damage it can do to these spears will be good for him. And having those archers out quickly would be quite nice as well. While Flash will be looking to do the same. Mostly play around an archer army from here on out. And the spears just sort of deter, you know, a commitment to a stables just to get, you know, 1 or 2 horsemen, because it really becomes untenable until you actually take out all the spears. And then on top of that, your opponent can just restart spear production. He's trying to get a bit of harass off. Lowe's trying to make sure that the Khan ends up tanking if he can. Must be even able to take a couple of pot shots at one of the villagers here. Not quite going to finish it off, but at least interrupting the gathering briefly. Forcing Flash to tuck things away a little bit more there. Ultimately, Flash does have bigger numbers here, so even with kiting, Lowe's got to be very careful and not really stick around here. A couple of units. Flash is falling there, and Lowe's really caught up in terms of military now. And so the silver tree being moved to the back corner now that there's been a number of caravans made. They won't gather a lot in that first long trip, but on future ones they're going to get, yeah, there we go, an awful lot more. Getting 150 resources or 160 rather than... Oh, it does actually bump it up because they've travelled extra distance. Okay, that's cool. I was going to say, if it didn't, it'd sort of deny low out of a couple of 100 resources. Well, Flash, going for Barbican, this is going to mean much faster training villages, and on top of that, he covers a stone mine, so he can look at going to town centre, really booming on his villager count. Well, low will be pretty 50-50 between vills and caravans. Obviously, he's ideally wanting to produce them out of the silver tree rather than making extra markets because they're so much cheaper, and they actually do train faster here. So, you know, rather than having 2 markets, you just go silver tree, and your traders come out at the same time, but also at a reduced cost. Quick Kurultai here, actually, for Low. So he wants to get to Castle and start really hitting hard. Not uncommon to see Mongols, regardless of their opening, try and reach for a fairly quick Castle Age if they can, unless they're really looking to invest heavily into markets. Going for some crazy multi-market shit. Flash just looking to put a bit of pressure on and see If he can dissuade Lowe from going for such fast tech. Bit of a misclick there, taking out one of the deer. He's going to keep pushing forward for now because he's actually got a much bigger army, considering Lowe has only gone for about 10 military and decided to go to Castle Age. Flash can put a bit of pressure on in the meantime. He should have enough to take out this outpost. Although, ideally he probably wants to just skip it and yeah, go for as many traders as possible here and force that Kurultai to be moved directly on top of the market line for now. Another couple of traders falling now. Really slowing down that eco of Lowe, and in the meanwhile Flash does have faster Vil production. Hasn't opted to go for any stone yet, probably just wants to get Castle Age considering that Lowe's gone for Castle Age so quickly. So what he'd want to do now is, yeah, try and wall off this side, so Lowe's going to have to bring around the Silver Tree, or even just cut through the walls to bring it back home. Because realistically, as long as Flash can keep some presence over here, Lowe's not going to want to leave it here, his Silver Tree. Even if he can cut through the walls, and I mean Flash is looking to double wall it. Try and even wall up that side passage as well. So Lowe, already being in castle though, he's going to be able to start putting pressure on with his lancers. And is it Man-at-Arms or Palace Guards? Man-at-Arms. Not that there's actually any statistical difference, I don't think. Nice little cleanup there for Lowe, killing a couple of Flash's feudal units. And I mean, as much as they're going to fall off relative to, say, you know, Jugnu or Crossbow, getting spear kills could be quite useful as well. And you know, at the end of the day, every little bit helps with your army. The bigger, the better. The more, the merrier. So he's actually going for a blacksmith here now, and a range as well. Hasn't gone for any upgrades. While we've already got Flash pumping out some armory or some blacksmith upgrades. I keep saying armory because it's called that in Age of Empires Online. Which, quick plug, you can still play these days via Project Celeste. But this walling off is really going to hurt any use of the Silver Tree now. Because Flash is either Lowe's either got to cut through 2 layers of walls or run it basically all the way around Flash's base. Or even just try and destroy this, but then spend ages bringing this thing home. The Kurultai is going to be good for Lowe. Nice regen and damage steroid for his units, and on top of that, start getting... He's gone for improved siege engineering, so he can actually make more than just rams and siege towers. He's got access to Trebs, Springalds, and Mangonels as well. So all of his Castle Age siege, he completely bypasses having to invest in siege workshops. Like, he might want to get one later on just so he can get the workshop upgrades like increased movement speed or, you know, the damage and health techs. But for now, this just gives him the ability to go for the Treb and destroy the Barbican. There's not a lot Flash can really do other than trying to tech. Well, not so much tech to Springles, he's already got the clock tower, but lock-up time he'd otherwise spend getting early nested bees to instead get Springles just to really be only accounted to the siege, and if you can defend them against the Lancers, you know, possibly against them too. Oh, and one of the nested bees is going to get picked off there by Lowe, so that's quite a nice engagement. He's just going to back out, taking a bit of damage, but as long as he doesn't lose any units here, this is actually huge for him. So that's very nice. Awareness by Lowe. Ooh, it doesn't eventually go down one of the Lancers, but even still, I believe a single nested bees at 600 resources is definitely worth killing with a 240, is it? for Knights, 240 resource unit. So definitely a nice little win there for Low. Flash still leads overall in terms of your destroyed value, but bearing in mind that was mostly just trying to mop up early eco units that the Mongol player had over him. Springald falling, able to get one of the traction trebs, but there is another one now, so Archers not the best against heavy units, but for now there really is not a lot of heavy armor in Flash's composition. He's really only got the Palace Guards. Doesn't really have any Lancers of his own, no stables yet. He's going for a ram there as well. Clock Tower battering ram. I don't think I've ever seen one of those produced before. Oh, and this is really cheeky by Low. He's actually... he's gone for traders and ran them down the far side of the map to Flash's neutral trading post. So very creative, smart. Because he's going to be trickling a lot of resources in the meanwhile. Like, it's 200 resources. The traders themselves are only 90 resources, so they pay for themselves for two of them. For every one of them that makes it home. Kurultai crept forward here as well, and Low looking to put the pressure on with forward outposts already. A couple of traction trebs in the mix too. Start focusing down all those drop-off buildings, and then after that the town center or some of these production buildings, which will be huge. And the ram for Flash, not really of any use at the moment. Possibly best off even just going with another nest of bees, or even a Springald at this stage. Well, at the stage he made it. The wall off here will be really helpful for Flash, but at the same time, Low, I think he's made enough round trips there that he's more than paid off the caravans. And GG, loueMT takes game number 1.